welcome to the Ethical Hacking Guest and Wholesomeness podcast. But like about me, I'm a penetration tester. I'm called Woman in Red, so that's like I'm trying to build a brand here. I'm the host of this podcast, Ethical Hacking Guest and Wholesomeness. I'm certified cover access specialist. And why am I here to be better at public speaking, not be so stressed and anxious about that, and to learn, expand my horizon, but also share the knowledge, like highlight the people that I invite to my podcast. This is the big screen, so I wanted to talk a bit about Kev. This is Kev. This is his LinkedIn profile. If you want to reach out and ask him questions. And I wanted to share that this is like a mainframe offensive security tester certification. I like the course I did with him, and what I learned on the course was all those things. History, how to use the mainframe, quick look at top 10 vulnerabilities. All of those things. It was like pretty cool course. And like also on his LinkedIn, he posted a week ago that he has still six seats available for the mainframe pen testing course, and like the certification looks like this now. This is all I wanted to share here. And this is Kev. Can you introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah, sure. Okay, and I'll share my screen in a little while as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've got a little bit of a presentation and a demo as well. So, yeah, thanks for having me on, Dorota. I'm Kev Milne. I'm a penetration tester of many years now. I've got into mainframe penetration testing in the last 3 years, and I'm currently writing a book for No Starch Press. As part of that book, I had to think about how am I going to design a lab that everybody can use, and because not everybody's got access to a mainframe. So there is mainframes out there such as Hercules, but it doesn't do everything that I want to do, especially when it comes to penetration testing. So I've written a little sort of simulator. Say it's little, it's taken months now. It just seems to consume time. So it's called Gibson, and Gibson's named after the mainframe that was in the film Hackers from 1995, I think. 97, right? So 30 years ago almost. So it's pretty cool, and I thought we'd just call it that. So I've got something I'm just gonna run past you, if that's okay. So I'll just go with that, Dorota, will I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Want to share my screen? Hopefully you'll be able to see my screen. I haven't tested this, so we're going to go for it.
Yeah, we were testing in production here.
We are testing in production, and I'm under the on the lap of the demo gods as well, due to the fact that I'm going to be presenting this pretty much live. So if I can look at screens, I'm going to I'll start off with this screen. I may have to shift screens. Okay, we'll go with this first. Can everybody see my screen?
I have to. Oh, yes.
I will start my slideshow, and we're going to be going into a live demo.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. So as I mentioned, the mainframe that I've created is called Gibson. Not everybody has access to an IBM mainframe, so I've kind of created something that simulates that to allow people to do sort of mainframe penetration testing, to get used to the interface, and to see kind of what an IBM ZOS mainframe kind of looks like. I've obviously had to make some changes there, and it's not IBM back in 1964 spent 5 billion developing the first mainframe. So luckily it didn't cost me that much. It's a bunch of Python scripts and things like that, but hopefully it's there for downloading and it's free to use. And I will be putting out the latest version, which is 0.33. We're on 0.32 at the moment, which will have some extra goodies in there. And that is going to go out after the weekend, along with some of the tools that I've got to do some of the compromising of the system here. Okay, so what is Gibson? It is a simulator to practice mainframe commands and security assessments against the mainframe. So let's shift on. Where can you get it? You can get the current version from my website, offensivesec.org/Gibson. If you go to offensivesec.org, you'll find a few other things in there, some of the mainframe training, and I also have a sort of cyber coach app that I'm actually going to put out a competition, and Dorota will be one of the people putting out one of the seats for the cyber coach application as well. So I'll be 5 people, so there'll be 5 seats for free lifetime access to the cyber coach app. But to be honest, it's not that expensive anyway. But so watch out for that with Dorota and a couple other folks as well. Okay, so what we're looking at here. So usually the IBM mainframe runs on ZOS, or ZOS, which is the mainframe operating system. We have therefore GOS, which is Gibson OS. We're on 3.2 almost of ZOS, so I've decided to start with 0.32. As I said, it's all written in Python. The components are, there is a mainframe that listens on port 2023. It has a TSO interface. A TSO interface is, it says time sharing options, but really it's a green screen, right? It's a green screen interface, and it allows you to enter commands, and it's the sort of thing you would expect to see on a terminal. It has a console interface as well, so you can actually run sort of more in-depth commands, and it allows you to simulate these sort of things, because that's what you would see on a standard mainframe. It also has a Unix subsystem called OMVS, which is Open MVS. So basically what I've done is simulated access between the actual mainframe and the Unix subsystem underneath, or the Linux subsystem underneath in this case. It's also got a kick simulator. For anybody who's a mainframe person, they'll know exactly what KICS, or Customer Information Control System, is. It is really what you would see your data input as. So it's a bit like WebSphere, and a bit like Tomcat, and a bit like an old-fashioned web interface that you would have seen 40 or 50 years ago. You still get them, they still are sitting there at the back end, but now you've got connections in through APIs and DB2 and WebSphere and web front ends and things like that as well. We've got ISPF, which is the information systems. It's ISPF. I just call it ISPF all the time. So that is basically the menu system, right? But I'll show you some of that. I'll show you it quickly. Usually RACF is the authentication system. So I've called it GACF, which is Gibson Access Control Facility. And although it's a database, it's just a text file really, but it does do the authentication for all of the components. And it does hold encrypted data in there. So I've added a little send. So this is a multi-user system. It doesn't have to be just one person using it. You can add as many users as you want, and you can all just send each other messages and just do stuff. It's going to be basic, but loads of people can use it. We have racf type commands, so things like list cat and list user and other things, because that's the whole point of this. It's a simulator. I've also got an FTP server which listens on port 21111. Yeah, and the thing about mainframe FTP servers, they don't just allow uploads and downloads. They actually allow execution of batch jobs, and they actually allow execution of SQL code. And that is one of the things where there's a good opportunity for actually breaking into the system. And I'll be doing that in the demo. Okay, so I'll be using JES, which is the job entry system, and uploading some job control language, which is just batch control language for the mainframe. And I'll be uploading some SQL as well, and I'll show you what sort of daft things you can do with this in the simulator, and you'll be able to run these things yourself. Also got a DB2 type system, and I've added, because on a real mainframe, generally you have to log in and you've got some menu systems, etc. for DB2. I've decided that you can do that, but I've also got a port that you can actually access and a DB2 Connect client. So it's a bit more fun. Now, the good thing is, I've written this myself, right? And there's a big difference between writing code for yourself, I've found, and for everybody else to look at. So suddenly it becomes more important that things are working and working well. So yeah, absolutely. So I've got a few things that will surround here. Some basic APIs that can be expanded into applications. What I'm hoping is other people will decide to join in, and they'll write their own little APIs or web interfaces around things. It's got its own web interface as well. Add extra commands, add extra batch jobs, extra facilities that do things, because it's all just sitting there. The code's open source. Just use it. Right. It just installs on a Linux box, or Mac, or Windows with Windows subsystem for Linux. Okay, so what are the other toys that I'm adding into this? And I'll show you some of these today. And I'll maybe go through gproxy and gids on another occasion. I have run Gibson as a honeypot, and I use gproxy and gids in order to be able to understand who is attacking me. Right, so gproxy is a tool for proxying ASCII and EBCDIC. Right, so it will just pass on all of those different protocols. ASCII is the standard protocol, EBCDIC is the protocol of mainframes. So if you, for example, if you want a honeypot, you could have EBCDIC and a system on the outside, but send it to a sandbox on the inside, and that way you're secure. GIDS used to be called EasyIDS. This captures ASCII traffic, it captures EBCDIC traffic as well, which is completely different, and it captures passwords. So what you usually have to do is use Wireshark and then change the filter in order to capture, look at the EBCDIC passwords in clear text. This will automatically pick them up as someone logs in. It also generates geolocation maps, and also allows you to do traffic analysis and traffic reconstruction as well. So if you see somebody like breaking into your system, you can actually reconstruct the traffic that came in, and you can also tell where they've actually attacked you from, and you can do all these sort of things in real time as well. So, and again, it's completely free and it's easy to run as well. It's like one command, and it creates the maps and does all these things, on its own. As I said, I've got a DB2 Connect client, which is a WebSocket client for DB2. It's just a bunch of Python code again. And I've got an Nmap simulator. The reason why you can run Nmap against the Gibson, but there are certain tools that run, for example, on Nmap, such as TSO brute and TSO enum and CICS enum, and they require EBCDIC. Now, Gibson, because it's easy to change some of the screens, I've written it in ASCII, right? And therefore, I needed to create a simulator that would simulate the Nmap scripts in this case. But again, it shows you exactly what you would do if you were running a pen test against the mainframe. So I've also got SQL and JIS trigger scripts. So that means you can upload these scripts to an FTP server and they will do things on Gibson. They will run code on Gibson that might give you access to the system or might allow you to download files that you shouldn't be allowed to download, etc. And they are designed to run exactly the same sort of way as some of the T-Shocker scripts that Soldier of Fortran Philip Young wrote, because some of these guys are absolutely awesome. They're the ones who did all this stuff first. I'm just copying them really and then adapting to ensure that everybody can have a play. Okay, other standard tools, Nmap, John the Ripper, etc. Okay, so hopefully everybody has seen Archer or not seen Archer. Dorota, have you ever seen Archer?
A few episodes, yeah. But I know it's a nice TV show.
Okay, cool. So the first thing that Archer said to Cyril Figgis was, let me into the mainframe, because he wanted to go and change his expenses, basically. He'd been drinking too much, gambling too much, the usual sort of thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to imagine that we're Sterling Archer trying to break into the mainframe here, the Gibson mainframe, all right? So some of the things will be quite simple, and the whole goal is to try and get Sterling Archer into the actual system itself. Okay, so we'll do that through a bit of a penetration test.
Nice.
Okay, I may need to change what the screen that I'm actually showing. So it's as simple as that. So I'll stop the share and then start the share right away. Give me 2 seconds. I'll shift the screens that I'm going to be sharing. Okay. Over to this one. Okay. Hopefully you can see that.
Yeah, it works. Like we can see everything.
It works good. Good, good. Excellent. Okay, so as I said, we have several ports here. So what I've done with Gibson is you can just install it and you can just download it, and it's got a setup script that just installs it and runs it on your local system, right? So if, for example, I was building a lab and, for example, chapter 3 of the book that I'm currently writing is a lab that has this sort of thing in it, along with a couple of other things. I can't tell you everything that's in there. But this is part of Build a Lab, so I've actually done it, and we can run these sort of things. Okay, so if I do a standard Nmap scan of our local host 127.0.0.1 and add -p-, which is obviously all of the open ports. Now, I'm in the lap of the demo gods here. I'm really hoping nothing goes wrong, but I cannot guarantee it. You know what happens with these things. It works 99% of the time, and the 1% you need it to, something goes wrong. Okay, so what we've got is we've got a few open ports. Here's my port 50,000, which is IBM DB2. The other ones, what happens is when you do an Nmap scan, because it's a Python script, it will come back into, if you put in banner script equals banner, it will tell you what this is, right? But if you just do a standard scan, or even with SV, in general, because it's Python, it doesn't recognize the socket that it's listening on, right? So it won't always give you the signature back. I have sent things up to Graham Lyons, Gordon Lyons, sorry, who runs Nmap in order to try and get these signatures in, so it will come back, say, Gibson FTP server or something, okay? That takes a wee bit of time, though. Okay, so we have 2023, which I have said is Gibson. We have 21111, which is the FTP server. So if I'll scan this port here, IBM DB2, just to show you some of the things that we can do. So if I add a script minus P50,000 and minus script is DB2, I think it's DAS info minus SV minus T4. Well, has it complained? And it helps if I add a target 127001. I was so worried about the script being correct. Try that. And see what it comes back with. So you should get a response back from Gibson with the correct DB2 DAS information there, because that's one of the ones that I could make work. So here we are, port 50,000, IBM DB2, and it's come back with information saying we are DB2 ZOS or GOS in this instance, etc. Okay, so that's absolutely fine. But we do know that 2023 is there, and we do know that that is what we're going to connect to. So we have multiple options to connect to the system itself, right? We're going to connect to what we call TSO, right? And that is on port 2023. Now, usually you have to use a client called X3270 or C3270. In this case, we're going to use NCAT because it's ASCII, so we can. And everybody's got NCAT or NC. So let's run NCAT. 127.0.0.1, and we are going to go 2023. Okay, right, so we have the Gibson front screen, right? Welcome screen, you could call it, okay? So one of the things that's slightly unusual about logging into a mainframe is you don't just put in your user ID and password, you have to tell it what you're going to log into. Okay, so we've got options to log into TSO, which is really like the bash shell, and we've got options to log into CICS, which is the customer information control system, right? So we want to try and log into the bash shell, right? Now, in a real mainframe, you can type logon applid TSO, or in this case, we can just type LTSO, and that should come up with an enter user ID. Okay, now I've made it as realistic as possible because this is the prompt that you are shown when it comes to logging into any standard ZOS mainframe. And if I very quickly after this show you some Shodan, that is, if you look for this with a port number on Shodan, so do Shodan search IKJ56700A port 23 or port 992, you will probably find tons of mainframes that are sitting out there on the internet, right? Which is not good. You wouldn't expect many. A few of them are, most of them are development systems, but there are some systems out there that are sitting on the internet that you think, wow, that is not great security. Anyway, what I'm going to do is you've got the option to log in as IBM user with the default password sys1. Okay, so I could do that, but I'm Archer, so I'm trying to log in as Archer. I don't know the user ID and password are correct, so I'll just type S Archer for Sterling Archer, press enter, and as you can see, S Archer is not authorized to use TSO, so I can't log into that, right? There's no user ID, no password that is there. So what is the next thing I'm going to do? I don't know. Okay, so I'm not going to try IBM user sys1 because I'm assuming it is not correct. So I can now decide that I'm going to try and enumerate some of the users that actually exist on this system. Okay, so if I clear my screen, I will, if I just press enter a couple of times so I can actually see the top of the screen, I will use my nmap sim. Okay, so again, it's just a Python script. So Python nmap sim.py, and I can type -h. And as you can see, it does quite a lot of different things. Now there is a menu system to this, but I'm going to use the full set of switches in order to do the first bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and enumerate users that are on the system. Okay, so I have a users and passwords file in here. So I'll use my users file to try and do that. So I'm going to type Python nmap-sim.py -h for the host, which is 127.0.0.1, and the port is 2023 because I know that. I'm going to use the users.txt file, and my script is TSO enum for TSO enumeration, right? And I think I've got everything there, so I'll probably want to press enter on that and see if it comes back with any users that it can enumerate.
Fingers crossed.
Well, it's got IBM user. So what it's doing is this script, what it does is it uses LTSO, then logs in, looks for IKJ 56700A. It then looks for the response and decides, oh, I got a good response, therefore this user exists, whether it logs in or not. Okay, so who exists? We have IBM user, we have Rory V, we have Enlem V, and we have guest. All right. So if anybody has seen Archer and is as much a fan as I am, every time they try and log into the mainframe and crack the mainframe password, it's generally exactly the same user ID and password that they guess every time. All right. So, but we're going to run TSO brute this time. Okay. So we're going to try and brute force the user ID and password this time around. So we know which users we've got. Okay. So this time we're going to use the users and passwords. So let's do that. So I'm going to run my nmap sim again.
Can I ask a question from the chat?
Yes, please do.
So in real mainframe, there are some features to prevent user enumeration. I guess it's not on by default. Same for password brute force.
Okay, so there's two things. TSO enumeration, and up until around about 2014, 2015, there was nothing to stop this password enumeration. So the nmap TSO enum script always worked, right? And it was actually Chad, Big Indian Smalls, and Soldier of Fortran, Chad Rickenrud, and Philip Young, who hassled IBM to say you shouldn't be able to enumerate users this way. And eventually, after 2 or 3 years, IBM decided, okay, we'll do that. So they have a set password pre-prompt there that does what you would expect in a web application, for example, that comes back and says, user or password doesn't exist. So therefore you can't enumerate in the same way. However, that can often be switched off, right? By default on 3.1, it's switched on, right? TSO brute will still work though, however. So that is different. So I'm going to run TSO brute minus TSO brute this time. Okay, and I'm going to add the target. Feel free to ask as many questions as we go. All right.
Yeah, we encourage it.
Yes, definitely. So we're on port 22023 as opposed to the default port 23. Users.txt I'm going to use because I have that. And I have passwords.txt as well. And it's what it's doing is going, checking for the user ID, waiting to see if it gets a valid response, and then going on from there once it does that. So as you can see, it's gone through everything already, and it's got guest with password guest. So let's see if we can log into the mainframe with guest and see how far we can actually get with that. All right. So as I said, I've set Gibson up to allow you to add as many users as you want and to do whatever you want to do with it. So I'll maybe show you a little bit of that as well once we've logged in as guest, just to see how much access guest has. So I'm going to go ncat 127.0.0.1 2023, and I'm going to this time just to show that logon applib TSO works. I hope. I'm going to log in with guest and password guest. Great. So I've got in.
Hacker voice.
Yay. Okay. Let's see how much access I've got as guest. So I can run list user, and list user is kind of the same as who or ID, and access level is none. Well, that's not great, unfortunately. So let's see what else I can use. So I can type listcat to see what files or data sets, sorry, are sitting, I have access to. So I've got access to guest.keepsafe, I've got guest.listcat. Right, okay, I want to see if I can get into the Unix subsystem. So by doing that, I would type ONVS. Ah, okay, I don't have access to that. What about ISPF? The Information Systems Productivity Facility. I don't have access to that, so I'm pretty locked down here. What else do I have? Let's see. So I've got a command that I've created that is the equivalent of cat on Linux, and this is a Rex script. So on the mainframe, we're still using job control language, Rex, CList, which is like batch files, etc. So I've got something called view on here, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to run it if I can type properly. So I can run it. I don't know what the keep safe is, so I'm going to go view keep.safe. All right, okay. So guest may have no permissions here, but FTP is weak, right? So that might be something I'm thinking about. Just to give you a little bit of so I'm going to get out of here because everything's logged. And say I was IBM user, for example, IBM user, and I can log in with sys1. Again, you're all set up to do this. There are lots of things you can do. You can go into console and display time. You can start and stop services in the console. So let's get out here. You can type OMVS, and OMVS will give you a Linux shell. Now it's a bash restricted shell in this case, because I wanted to make sure that if anybody actually, when I was running a honeypot, if anybody got into this bit, they couldn't get out of the bash shell. So they can get so far. One of the things you can do is run TSO commands. So this is mainframe commands such as listcat, and it will give you those back. So I have added those sort of things. List user, for example. So some of the things we can see, if I type exit, I'll head back to here. Excellent. I can also run ISPF, which is the mainframe information menu system, really. So if I type S, I can see that I am on as displaying users, IBM user that I'm logged on as is sitting there. Okay, I can see logs, I can see various other things like that as well. If I create a job, for example, F3, sorry, F3, sorry, it's X that. If I submit a job, so if I check to see if I've got any jobs here, I have my job.jcl. So this is job control language. So I can submit. I can see it, submit my job.jcl, and that will say job 7 has been submitted. So that I might have some code that runs. For example, I can go back into ISPF and have a look in here, and I should see the status of my job. Job 7 is sitting there. It's going to run, and if there's any sort of interesting output, you can go into that, right? So it's just for training purposes. Okay, so if I come out of there, I also have some other utilities such as an editor, which is if you haven't used ISPF editor, is quite tricky to use, but once you know what it can do, it's quite powerful. Right. Anyway, so let's get out of here because let's get back to the hacking part, right? So I will log off. Excuse me. Right. Okay. So FTP is weak, right? So what I'm interested in doing is checking to see what I can actually do with FTP. And before I do that, I'll just do a quick DB2 connect just to show you what the DB2 part is and what it looks like, because there's lots of components to this. So let me see. I will go Python 3 db2 connect.py, and the system is this one. And I'm going to log in as IBM user and sys1. And as you can see, it's got a command prompt here. And you can do things like show DBS or show users or other things like that, okay? Other things, interesting stuff like that, ID, UID. So these are commands that you would be able to put into DB2, right? So again, decent practice. So I will log out of here, and I can control C that. So now what I'm going to do is, hopefully I'm not going too fast. I am going to start looking at FTP to see what I can do. Obviously, we've tried to brute force, but we're interested in adding Sterling Archer to the system, right? As we know, SQL commands and job entry system commands will work. Jobs will work if I've got enough access. So guests usually shouldn't have enough access. However, there is a clue there that says, you know, FTP is weak. So the access might be pretty weak for this sort of thing. So let's try it. So I'm going to connect to the FTP server. And remember, it's on port 2111. And I'm going to log in as guest with password guest, because that's all I've got. Okay, and ls that. So we still see the same files because we're talking about exactly the same file system that we're on here, okay? However, what I'm going to try is to upload some SQL code. So if I come out of here just now, just log off of there, I've got one that I prepared earlier, add archer.sql. So what this does is it inserts into sysibm.sysuser.auth sarcher with the value of sysadmin. Now, usually RACF is powerful enough to, it will just stop this, but sometimes databases can be misconfigured. And if you can get the user sarcher to be sysadmin, it will give them access and potentially special access to the system as well. So we're going to see if we can upload this and run the SQL code through the job submission tool on there. Okay, so let's upload that. So we've got FTP. We're going to go as guest, and again as guest. And we're all right. So what we need to do to move to job sort of SQL submission mode is to type what site file type equals
Type.
SQL.
There's a
if I type it correctly, quote, site, file. I always do that the wrong way around.
no, site is wrong.
Thank you. My typing's terrible. Equals SQL.
Better than mine.
No, I don't think so. So we are now in SQL mode, right? So if we put add underscore archer.sql, what it will do is it will execute the SQL code within the SQL query and hopefully allow us some access. That's the whole idea. If it's right, it'll tell us very quickly if we can't do that. And it has said that is okay. I've also set it up so you can log in anonymously to FTP with this. But if you try and upload that, it will just go, sorry, you don't have access rights, and will just reject you. And it will reject you with an RC8, which means no, basically. So we have a SQL process output in job add underscore archer.txt. So that's pretty good news. Right, okay, so if I'm going to try and download that, so I'm going to get job add underscore archer .txt, and I've got that. I've managed to download that. So let's download that. So I'm going to exit from that. I'm going to have a look at that. So I'm going to go cat job, what was it called again? Job add underscore archer.txt. Okay, and so it's come back with number of rows affected 1, so it's added 1 row, right? The SQL status is 0. That means that it has worked, because you've got 3 different SQL state. You've got 3 different RC statuses. One is it has 0 is it has worked, and 8 is said it is failed, and 4 is I can't remember, somewhere in between. Because my brain's mince at the minute. But he's in as sysadmin. So what it says is check sysadmin password for access. So it's not always the case, but very often sysadmin default user password will be sysadmin. It can be web ADM, sysadm, etc. So what we're going to do is we're going to attempt now to log in through LTSO to this to see if it's actually worked. So if I type in cat 127.0.0.1 and 2023 LTSO, and user is S Archer this time. Well, it hasn't said it's not allowed in. He's got S sysadmin, so he's managed to log in with that. So what the SQL job did was circumvent a control, give him access to DB2, which then allowed access to TSO. Now, usually RACF wouldn't allow that, but it's not always the case that RACF will be assigned to some of the DB2 stuff. So I can just go list user. What access do I have? I've got special, so great. So I can do anything I want now. Okay, so special is not necessarily root, but it allows you to add anything you want to yourself, gives you that sort of access. Okay, so we're into the mainframe. Great, excellent. So I want to know where sys1 RACF-DS is. Okay, so this is the RACF database. Now there's 2. There's the gacf.db, which, if you want, I've set it up to be really weak MD5 encryption. Okay, but in the Python code, you can just change it to bcrypt or whatever you want if you want the system to be more secure. I'm probably going to change it in the future to have Gibson -weak and Gibson -secure, which will change settings as we go. So I'm going to get a hold of that, actually. So I'm going to log off here. Okay, and I'm going to go back to FTP this time. As you can see, I'm concentrating a lot on FTP here. And I'm going to show, I go ls, we don't have a lot of time. We've got 2 things I can upload, JCL Rex or I have another job control language, which is called CP-RACF-DB, which means copy the RACF database. Now, the RACF database is in the high-level qualifier sys1, and usually even special don't have access to just copy it, right? So what I'm going to do is run some job control language through the FTP server, and that is then going to copy it into my directory to allow me to then be able to copy it off and potentially crack it, right? So we'll do that. One other thing I'll just show you very quickly that I've added into Gibson is the JCL Rex. And again, this is part of T-Shocker. So this will give you a back door into the system as well. So I know we haven't got a lot of time, so I will make sure that we get this right. Okay, so now I can log in as S Archer, right? Because I have access now, if I can type. So this gives me quite a lot of access to do whatever I want. So I'm going to change it into JES mode. So quote site file type equals JES. And I'm going to put JCL -rex. What T-Shocker does is it creates a Rex script that then runs job control language that then actually creates a backdoor in the system through Unix, right? So I'm going to put this. Great. Okay, so it has succeeded and it has created a job number 34801, and it's telling me that the backdoor port is actually announced in that job. So let's have a look at getting hold of that job 34801. Excellent, got that. And now I'm just going to cat that as well. 38401. It's called that, isn't it? 34801. And it gives me a whole pile of stuff. And one of the things it says is connect with netcat on the back door 36743. And it says you've got 5 minutes before this port is burned. So it will shut the port down in 5 minutes time. Right, so I've got a timer to set that in, and I'll just very quickly show you 127.0.0.1 does open that port 7.3, and there you are. So it gives you a T-Shocker prompt this time and allows you to do various things. Okay, that is very similar, like on the mainframe, to the T-Shocker script that Soldier of Fortran Phil Young actually created. So I'm mimicking that script. So I will exit from that because I can do various other things. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to connect again, but I'm going to upload and copy and upload the CP-RACF-DB job this time. So let me see. I'm going to go CDN, and I'm going to go quote site file type equals JES again because it's job entry system, and I'm going to put CP-RACF db.jcl this time, and that will execute the code. So let's see what it said. Oh, it said RACF not authorized for request, RC8. I made a change. Right, okay, I'm going to check it. LS. Oh, it has done it. It's just telling me it hasn't done it. So it is there. So what it's done is copied sys1racket.fds from another directory that was secure into my home directory, right? So what am I going to do now? I'm going to FTP this. I'm going to get sys1.rackfds. And I've got it. Okay. Now, usually I would use rackf to John because it's a binary file. But what I'll do is I'll quickly shift this over to one of my Kali boxes, and then we'll crack it there. Is that okay? We've got 2 minutes, Dorota?
Yeah, got a lot of
We're
minutes.
okay. Okay, good. Okay, so SFTP now, that file. So I think I am user 2 at 192.168.0.195 and Kali because Kali box, and ls that, and I will very quickly put, and again I'm hoping that this all works. Sys1 rack FDS, so it's 14 megabytes in size. It's not as big as an industrial sized one, but it's off a system. So I will exit from that now, but I'm going to SSH in there just to try and run the command so I can try and decrypt it. And then it's Kali. LS. So do I see it? Yes, it's there. So what I'm going to do is, and I hope that this works. John the Ripper has a tool called rackf to John, which converts the rackf ds binary into a text file that it can be cracked. So let's try sys1.rackfds, and I'm going to output that to, I don't know, crack yes dot text. Okay, seems to be all right. Yeah, so the text file's there. Here we are. Okay, so it didn't complain. Right, so let's see if we've got any hashes in there. I think we should be okay. So John crack fds.text, and I think I might need to clear I need to clear something first. So dot John. Yes. We'll get rid of our John.plot file. No. rm star. Good. Not. Less. Good. Okay, so let's try it now. Text. There you go. That's my terrible typing again. Yay! Worked this time. All right, and because it's DES encryption, because it's an old it was an old system that this is taken from. That's how quickly it took it out. Okay, so with virtually no word list or anything, it just took all these sort of things out. So these are very weak, obviously, but it's got some other ones in there, sysoper, etc., and it will just keep going. It won't take long at all. If I had a KDF AES one, which is an AES encryption system, it would take an awful lot longer to actually crack these passwords. So the more modern mainframe that this is maybe 10 years old, more modern mainframe would take quite a while to actually do that. Anyway, so I will leave that there, and I'll stop my share just now. So that's my presentation. So Sterling Archer did very well. He got from nothing to guest to then being able to upload some jobs and SQL code in order to be able to add himself to the system, then steal the rackf database and decrypt it. So, I mean, hopefully that was okay. And as I said, that is all of that is open source. So you can do all of that yourself. All the tools are free. Gibson is free. It runs all the code and does all the things there. You just need to well, maybe watch this video again if it's going to be played back, and you can just play along with myself. Anybody got any questions?
Let's check. No, I don't see
Usually
any.
I get
maybe people are just like intimidated or shy. But if you guys have any questions, oh, go ahead. Then you can also like ask Kev on LinkedIn, I think. Please.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
The question is why the port would be burned.
Why should the ports be burnt? Okay. So especially on Gibson, for example, if you're using it for a training system, you don't want lots of ports open and then just staying open because that's going to use resources. And also, if I was a hacker, for example, not just necessarily a pen tester, what I would want is code that would open a system for maybe 10 minutes and then allow me in to do what I wanted to do, and then it could close down. And just in case I left it open, because I want to cover my tracks.
Thank you.
And it's kind of Mission Impossible type stuff, burn after reading. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't see any more questions, but yeah, feel free to ask Kev on LinkedIn as well.
That's more questions than I usually get at mainframe conferences. Nobody ever asks me anything. I always wonder if people have fallen asleep. But,
No, but
well,
probably
hopefully
they
that
feel
was all
like
right.
you are smarter than them and they don't want to look bad.
Not at all.
Oh,
Not at all. Ask. There are no daft questions, especially with mainframes. Honestly, I was in a mainframe meeting a couple of years ago, and it's the first time in many years that I had no idea what anybody was talking about. And I was going, well, I don't know what I need. I don't know what you're even saying. So yeah, you don't know until you learn. Okay, so it's all about
I,
learning.
there are like two more questions. I will
Sure.
try on my Mac. Can we push notification? And is there a GitHub or how can we contribute?
Uh, yeah, if you want to contribute, if you're a Python coder or you've got any ideas or any of these sort of things, it's on offensivesec.org at the minute, but I am definitely going to upload it to my GitHub. So yes, there will be a GitHub, and please do use it and turn it into anything you want it to be, because I want it to be an educational tool. One of the reasons I did that is because IBM refused to provide a cheap way of learning how to do mainframe testing, pen testing, and even getting easy access to mainframes. So I just said, I've got to write something here, and there it is. So there are loads of better coders than me. AI has helped me quite a lot here. So yeah, please do help. But it will be up my GitHub, and that will be on my LinkedIn. I'll put that out.
Okay, so I guess that's like we are finishing here. I don't see any more questions. I wanted to thank you so much for like coming and showing the presentation, like teaching us how to like play with the mainframe, how to like walk around Gibson. And yeah, thank you for like actually I wanted to thank you as well for creating the mainframe offensive cars because it was like really good learning material and yeah. You're sharing
Yeah,
that with the world, so that's like really good.
yeah. I mean, you did really well on it as well. You were quick on the uptake, so it's just about getting the chance to practice as well. So that this will give people the chance to practice without having to have a mainframe, right? So, but yeah, you did good on it, Dorota. So it was a pleasure having you on the course. So thank you.
Thank you. And so I guess this is the end. And if you will have something to say at the end, like from yourself, then this is your time. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Any feedback, be as brutal as you care to be, and I don't mind.
Yeah, like I don't see like from me, my feedback is like I'm like blown away. It's amazing. But if anyone has anything to say, like please go ahead. But you can also like yeah, if there's like we are finishing, so you can do it on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, I guess that's it.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
doing another
see. Great
presentation.
presentation. Sorry.
Cool. So I'm doing another presentation in Krakow at B-Sides Krakow, so I'll see you there, Dorota, right? Because you're presenting too.
Yeah, I'm talking about social engineering
All
again.
good. Yeah, all good. So I will see you in Krakow and we can have a beer.
Ooh, and pierogis.
I will buy. Yes, definitely. All right. So thanks very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time. And cheers. See ya.
And so I guess that's it for today. I'll see you next week. I'm waving, but I probably cannot see it. But yeah, let's see next week. Bye.